Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. Gonna do a live stream. Don't know how long for. Somewhere between half an hour and an hour, I would imagine. I might panic and quit midway through. But I have somewhat prepared about a dozen articles, a dozen topics, and going to read through those. So some of that might be a little bit boring. Um, but I do need to give you a trigger warning. Pretty much all of the topics that I go through are going to be very, very harrowing, and if we do go through all of them, you're going to get pretty depressed at the end of this. So you don't have to stick around for the whole thing. And if you do feel a little bit worse for wear from the very troubling topics that I'm going to go over, then of course do take a break and go and do something more entertaining, more light-hearted. Having said that, if you do appreciate the content, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Stick around. I have done live streams before, but not for quite some time. So I'm going to be a little bit rusty. Um, Hopefully, as I move forward, things will get better. By the way, here's my Twitter feed. If you wanted to join that, it's True Crime Update. True Crime Update. If you wanted to join that. Anyway, let's get started. We'll go through. Let me do an
Join that.
audio. Okay, all right, audio is fine. So we're going to go through the first topic. Going to look at three articles in regards to the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, 82 years of age. So I'm sure you're aware of this case, but essentially, as of Friday, very early morning, 2:27 a.m. approximately in San Francisco, a suspect, 42-year-old David DePape, broke into Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi's home, apparently through a sliding door, although there is some suspicion given that there's broken glass on the outside. I'm not a forensic expert, but I do believe some people are questioning the veracity of what's going on here. If we're being told the full story, surely there should only be broken glass on the inside of the property. But nevertheless, an incident absolutely did take place. Paul Pelosi rather cleverly called the police and spoke with the police in a covert, coded fashion during the confrontation with the suspect, the guy that you see in front of you. His name's David DePape. So Paul Pelosi called the police. Essentially, that call alerted dispatch to issue out some officers to attend the property. The officers arrived at around 2:27 a.m. Friday morning, and they saw both the suspect, David DePape, and the victim, Paul Pelosi, 82 years of age. Both of them had one hand each on a hammer. Now, the police, perhaps questionably, instructed both of them to drop the weapon. Hey guys, we don't know what's going on here, but there's a hammer there and you've both got a hand on it. Can you both drop the weapon, please? Paul Pelosi complied. The suspect did not. The suspect at that point seemingly struck Paul Pelosi. Now, we're not told in any of the articles here how many times Paul Pelosi was struck. It could be multiple times. It seems that it was. Um, Paul Pelosi has undergone successful surgery to repair a fractured skull. He also had. He also had. What else did he also have? He also had injuries to his right arm and both of his hands. So Paul Pelosi suffered multiple injuries. He's had successful surgery. And this guy has been arrested and charged with multiple felonies, including attempted murder. Okay, now the article tells us a little bit of a background of the suspect, David DePape here. He's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. He is a rabid supporter of many right-wing talking points, as, by the way, so am I, to somewhat of an extent. So apparently he's posted many articles, many videos, many blogs spreading conspiracy theories, as well as hateful rhetoric related to COVID-19, women, I presume misogyny, Hillary Clinton, the Jewish community, federal law enforcement such as the FBI, government censorship. He questions Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He questions the climate crisis. He's a member, a supporter, a follower of QAnon. He questions the veracity of the 2020 election. He questions the transgender community, grooming within schools, and other right-wing talking points. To be honest with you, I question a lot of those things too. However, what I don't do is I don't go around hitting people in the head, or indeed anywhere else of their in their body, over the head with hammers. Just not what I do, and not what I condone. So that's what pretty much that's what this article is telling us. Biden, of course, has made a statement condemning the attack, saying that it's despicable, saying that it was targeted, that it was not a random attack, that it was targeted against the Pelosi. So we're going to have a quick look at this second article on the same subject. This article doesn't tell us too much. It does tell us that an unknown person let police officers into Paul Pelosi's home on the night of the attack. So a third person. So Nancy wasn't at the home. Nancy was in Washington, D.C. at the time of the attack, 2:27 a.m. Friday, but she did fly to California on the Friday to be by her husband's bedside. So I applaud Nancy for that. But this article is just telling us that a third person, not Paul Pelosi, not the suspect, but a third person was present at the home, seemingly at the time of the attack, and they let police officers in. How important is that? I'm thinking it's probably not that important. I would not be surprised if there's a member of security that lives at the home, if there's a maid or a cleaner or such, or potentially a house guest. We don't know who that third person is, but I wouldn't necessarily jump to the conclusion that it was a nefarious aspect to this story. So we're going to move on to the third article here, again in regards to Nancy Pelosi's husband's attack, the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. This article is presenting us with a very nicely written statement that Nancy Pelosi put out on Saturday, thanking people for their well wishes, their best wishes, their prayers for Paul, and does go on to inform everybody, the public, that Paul is recovering well, that he has undergone surgery again to repair a fractured skull, as well as to repair damage to his or severe injuries to his right arm and both hands. But he is recovering well. So it's a nice statement that Nancy Pelosi has put out. More disturbingly, though, this article gives us more information about the suspect, David DePape, 42 years of age, and it's told us that his daughter, not biological daughter, his stepdaughter, her name is, what's her name? Her name is, can't remember what her name is, Izzy something or something like that. But she says she's come out with a statement saying that the David DePape was married, I believe, to her mother and raised her and her two brothers. And at a certain point in time, one of the two brothers had flashbacks, had memories that he was abused sexually by David DePape, the suspect. And indeed, this brother recalled that all three children, this daughter here that's made a public statement, which has since been removed from social media, the brother recalls all three children being abused by the suspect, David DePape. So there's accusations of sexual abuse from his children. Now, a case was pursued, however, it was allegedly mishandled, and the charges were dropped, or perhaps even the charges were never made, never formalized. But certainly the accusations were heralded against David DePape by his own children, that he sexually abused them from a very young age up until the age of about 7 or 8. Those are the accusations made against this suspect. So very dark, very, very dark. The mother, so the suspect's wife, is currently in jail for child sexual abuse. Allegedly, or I mean, she was even convicted, if I understand correctly. She was convicted and sentenced in regards to stalking and harassing a 14-year-old boy. Apparently, she was attempting to lure a 14-year-old boy to meet, to have sex or some level of sexual contact, and she's been jailed for that. So that's what this article here is telling us, that this suspect allegedly has a very, very sordid past, as does the suspect's wife. And that's pretty much what this article is telling us. So there we go. There's an update in regards to the attack on Paul Pelosi. I'm not a fan of senior politicians within the Democratic Party, as far as I'm aware of them. I'm not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I'm not a fan of Paul Pelosi. I hear that there's all kinds of allegations of stock fraud. Can't think of the correct term, but purchasing certain stocks, certain shares under the with certain knowledge of laws being passed, such that there's a very high likelihood that the value of the stock will increase. Stock Insider stock trading, yeah. I got there eventually. So there are accusations of ongoing insider stock trading against Paul Pelosi. Even their son, I believe, has been accused of being the benefactor of extreme nepotism, being paid absurd amounts of money from Ukrainian um, businesses in positions in which he's not fully qualified, very much along the lines of Hunter Biden's situation. I'm not a fan of these people, but of course, in no way would I condone striking any of these people over the head with a hammer. So I do, of course, hope that Paul makes a full recovery. In any case, let's move on to the next subject. A twin car bomb explosion leaves at least 30 dead in Somalia's capital, which includes children 5 years, including children 5 years after a blast um, in the same location killed 500 people. So 5 years ago, there was another blast in the same location which killed 500. This time, in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, there's been a twin car bomb explosion, which has left 30 dead, including children. So we're going to have a look through this. Two car bombs have exploded at a busy junction in Somalia's capital near key government offices, which has caused scores of civilian casualties, including children. One hospital worker counted at least 30 bodies amid fears of possibly many more. The attack in Mogadishu occurred on a day when the president, the prime minister, and other senior officials were meeting to discuss expanded efforts to combat violent extremism, especially by the Al Qaeda affiliated Al Shahab group that often targets the capital. So, as far as I understand, the twin car bombs were detonated by an extremist group called Al Shahab, maybe Al Shabab. Here are some images of the aftermath. Tuk-tuks were blown up, at least 30 dead, including children. Of course, the attack's been condemned by the senior politicians. So apparently the first blast hit a perimeter wall of the education ministry where street vendors and money changers were located. So, basically relatively poor people working in a market, if I understand correctly, working in the market, servicing the local community, minding their own business, getting on with their lives as best they can. And at least 30 of them have their lives taken away from them because of two blasts, two car bombs going off in public. in an area designed to kill and cause as much mayhem as possible. So there we go. That's pretty much all the information that we have at this point. Of course, full condolences go to all of the victims, the families of the victims. A heinous terrorist attack in Somalia, the capital, Mogadishu. So we've got another global tragedy which has occurred. I've not read through this that thoroughly at this point. I'll play this video perhaps. I'll turn the sound off. Maybe that's not going to be that helpful. But essentially, at least 149 people have been killed during an incident. During an incident at a Halloween festivities in Seoul, South Korea. So I don't know the full details. We'll go through this together. But in Seoul, South Korea, there was I can't think of the right word, but there's a rush, a stampede, and 149 people or more have been killed. This happened during Halloween festivities in Seoul's Itaewon nightclub district. It happened Saturday night. At least 150 more people were also reported injured. So 149 confirmed dead. That is expected to increase. And 150 also injured. Authorities are still investigating exactly what caused the incident, but the fire chief said it was a presumed stampede through the narrow streets and that many people fell, resulting in casualties. The fire chief said that they received reports of people being buried in crowds starting at around 10:40 p.m. Saturday evening. The cause of the incident has not been confirmed, but the chief said there was no gas leak, there was no fire on the site. Many or most of the casualties are teenagers and people in their 20s. So some people had suffered from cardiac arrest, which is apparently something which happens during stampedes. If you fall and if you're trampled on, it puts a huge strain on the body, which can lead to cardiac arrest. Many people had difficulty breathing, which again is something that happens during these situations, stampedes. People get crushed. Dozens of the injured were transferred to nearby hospitals, and we're informed that the death toll, currently at 149, is likely going to increase. There are many unidentified victims at this point in time. So the victims are being transferred to multiple hospitals, multiple mortuaries around the Seoul area, South Korea. That's pretty much all the information that we have at this point in time. It's an absolute tragedy, huge numbers dead. And it's going to be, I'll say interesting, but it's going to be important to find out why this occurred. What was the spark? What led to this stampede? And what can be done about these things in the future? I don't know what can be done about these things in the future, but I do know that personally, I have no interest in going to these public festivals. I've got no interest in going to them. I don't like them. I see too many articles like this of stampedes, of in America you have shootings. To me, these situations, they can be pleasant, they can be fun, they can be entertaining, but to me, it's all a bit of a hassle. And nowadays, there's added risk. Your life can be taken away from you. Again, of course, full condolences to all of the victims. At least 149 killed in Seoul, most of them young people, teenagers, and those in their 20s. And at least another 150 injured. Here's an image of the bodies. Hopefully that doesn't get me into trouble with YouTube. But I mean, what's that? That's about 30 bodies there. We can see mostly young people by the look of it, from what we can see. Dead in the streets. They go out for a night of festivities with their friends, with their family. They have their lives taken away. I'm going to move on from this article. I'm now going to go through some more articles which are going to be of a very harrowing nature, going to involve child murder. So there's going to be a few different topics that I'm going to go through. If you are listening to this after the fact, please do show a little bit of support, a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Drop any comments that you feel is appropriate. Maybe you want to give me a little bit of criticisms. That's perfectly fine. But we're going to have a look through this article here. Here's a picture of a 5-month-old baby girl that has been murdered. So we're going to read through the details. An Ohio mother is accused of murdering her infant daughter, leaving family members grieving and bewildered. Prosecutors allege that 37-year-old Rebecca King, this whore, caused the death of the 5-month-old girl Lily Johnson and did so on purpose earlier this month, October the 8th. October the 8th. The girl's death is believed to have been caused by blunt impact and occurred at a home in Cathedral Avenue in Norwood, Ohio. Authorities have not released any further details about the nature of the death or what may have led to it, but we do know that the 5-year-old girl is believed to have died due to blunt impact. That's pretty much all the information that we have at this moment in time. The article gives us a quote from the mother's sister, so the baby girl's daughter, aunt, expressing her sorrow and how she feels sick in regards to the situation, which of course is completely natural. Oh, hey Donna, thanks very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad at least one person's here showing a little bit of support. Thank you very much. Thankfully, this scumbag mother has been detained and she's been held. She's expected to make a court appearance on Saturday. We're not told of any bond. So if it were up to me, I would not give a bond to somebody that is expected or suspected of child murder. I would allow them to remain in jail while the investigators can gather the evidence and to build a prosecutory case. Here's a GoFundMe. I think this might be from the father. Bradley Johnson is organizing this fundraiser. This is for my baby girl, Lily. I don't have any words to explain how I feel right now, and I don't think I ever will. Just working on getting my baby girl taken care of and making sure she has a good seat in heaven. Anything helps. So if anyone's in a position to donate, there is a GoFundMe for Lily Ann Johnson. Currently raised $1,200 of a $2,000 goal, which is a very modest goal. And it seems that it's the father looking for a little bit of financial support to ensure a burial, a ceremony, a proper funeral for Lillian Johnson, his 5-month-old baby girl, whose life has been taken away, allegedly by the mother. So, of course, full condolences to the family concerned, to the father and everybody else. So we're going to move on to the next subject. As I mentioned, Donna, the next several articles are going to be very, very harrowing. You don't have to stick around. If you feel like you're getting a little bit too down, then take a break, do something a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, because these topics are just going to get you more and more depressed, I guarantee it. Okay, so we're moving on to the next subject. Washington, D.C. mother has been charged with murder after her 2-year-old girl died with toxic levels of antihistamine medication in her system. So there is the scumbag mother, Leandre Andrade, and the baby girl in question, Lenoy Andrade. And here's the father, Fabio Andrade. A 38-year-old Washington, D.C. woman now faces a second-degree murder charge in connection with the August death of her 2-year-old daughter, Lenoir Andrade, after she lost a custody battle with the girl's father. A murder charge has been made against the mother, Leandre Andrade, um, and is supported by autopsy findings from the medical examiner's office, which reportedly showed a toxic level of diphenhydramine in the 2-year-old girl's system. Diphenhydramine is an antihistamine found in Benadryl and similar over-the-counter drugs. Thanks, Donna. Cops said that the baby girl, 2-year-old girl Lenoir, was found dead at the Cuddy Sark Motel in the early morning of August the 1st, which was reportedly the day that the mother was supposed to return the custody of the child to her father. So this is a real, it's a real tragedy, obviously, but it's really disgusting. Essentially, there was a custody battle. The father won, and the mother threatened harm against the child. She posted some social media messages, some text messages, which highly concerned the family. The family called the authorities, the police, but the police weren't in a position to act. And lo and behold, the 2-year-old girl, Lenoir, had her life taken away from her, poisoned by giving an overdose of diphenhydramine, so essentially Benadryl or similar. The mother was also found in a state of, essentially she had attempted suicide by taking the same drugs. This is too common, unfortunately. Yeah, it is. There's several articles where I've come across this kind of thing, and I would say there are a lot of other situations where when I read an article a day or two after the incident, the motives aren't yet known, and perhaps I never get around to find out what the motives of the attacks are. But there could be a lot of other situations whereby we're not necessarily told that there was a custody dispute or a severe issues within the relationship. I've kind of gone on a ramble there. Welcome, Maybe Criminal. Thank you for joining. The police were not in a position to act. What the fuck? Yeah, well, yeah, no, I agree with you. If threats were made, then you would think that they ought to have taken action if threats were made, and apparently threats were made. So let's have a look at that part. The mother reportedly sent dark texts to the father, Fabio Andrade, from a motel room in Virginia Beach, such as, "You don't win. I will make you cry yourself to sleep at night. Please believe me," while urging him not to move forward with divorce proceedings. So I would guess, Maybe Criminal, I would guess that those texts don't necessarily prove that she's planning on harming her child, I would imagine. Those concerning texts, which reportedly included messages describing the victim in the past tense, led friends and family to contact police. Cops said that the suspect was found suffering from a medical emergency at the crime scene. So it's been suggested that the mother attempted suicide by taking pills, which also contained diphenhydramine. There's 2 empty pill bottles. She tried to commit suicide. I'm going to say, unfortunately, that didn't work. The mother was taken into custody on the child abuse and neglect charges. And now other charges seem inevitable. All murder other than aggravated murder. Yes, okay. So it seems like she's going to be charged with murder of Lenoir. And that's pretty much the details for this article here. So, of course, full condolences to the extended family, particularly the father. Seemingly a loving father. I mean, he looks like a loving father in that picture there. The father, Fabio Andrade Jr., and his baby girl, Lenoir Andrade. Loving each other. The father wanted custody to protect his child. That was denied by the mother, who seemingly insisted on killing her 2-year-old child, her 2-year-old girl, for no reason other than spite or whatever it is. Donna says, I am in a support group for Kayla White, who this happened to. She actually found him when the cops wouldn't enter for a welfare check. Right. Kayla White. I go through a lot of articles. I'm quite sure I've covered Kayla White, I think. But I'm going to get my thoughts mixed up. Maybe criminal, another death, and endless suffering due to police inaction. Yeah, endless suffering. That's right. Thankfully, I've never experienced this kind of situation. There's never been like a murder or that type of situation with any of my friends and family. I've never experienced it, but yeah, you can imagine it's just going to be endless suffering for the father and for those that loved Lenoir. Just a dreadful situation. So I'm going to move on to the next subject, and it's going to continue to be dreadful and harrowing. So maybe criminal, you're more than welcome to step away if you feel that things get a little bit too much. In Las Vegas, a deceased 2-year-old's mother's boyfriend, and that's a term that we hear a lot of, the mother's boyfriend, is accused of killing the 2-year-old child as well as beating his older brother with items including a belt and a broom. Las Vegas Metro Police arrested a scumbag called Johnny Garbarino Jr., 26 years of age. He was arrested on Friday, October the 21st, and he's facing charges including first-degree murder of his girlfriend's 2-year-old son. I think that's right. 2-year-old boy. Yes. Caden Boykin, 2 years of age, was discovered unresponsive in an apartment near Maryland Parkway and Flamingo Road on October the 12th. Garbarino is identified in police documents as the child's mother's boyfriend. Caden Boykin died 2 days later at Sunrise Hospital. Detectives noted that the child, Caden Boykin, had suffered several injuries, including cuts and abrasions, internal injuries, and brain swelling. His cause of death was caused by blunt force injuries. A second child was also taken to hospital to be checked up. The second child, aged 4 or 5, we're not 100% sure, but that second child had multiple patterned scars and bruises all over his body. He had been whooped with a belt by the mother's boyfriend. The child's mother told police that Boykin, the 2-year-old, was healthy until mid-September when he couldn't eat. The 2-year-old had developed nausea. He had a distended abdomen, and the 2-year-old had blood in his urine. On October the 12th, the mother left the apartment for a job interview. On her way back, she received a call from her boyfriend, Garbarino, saying that 2-year-old Caden was unresponsive and that she, the mother, needed to get home. The mother told police that she had not seen the boyfriend physically hurt the children. However, how the F would she not have seen these bruises and these injuries and this change in temperament, this change in the ability of the child to eat? How could she not have seen those things? If she is an attentive mother, if she has eyes and a brain in her head, how can she not see these things? In an interview with police, the mother's boyfriend Garbarino said that he does not discipline the child because he is not their parent. That's bullshit. Garbarino later told police he had spanked the child with a belt twice for playing around and hitting the window when they were supposed to be in bed. The other child, the 4 or the 5-year-old, had said that the mother's boyfriend had spanked him and had hit him with a belt and a broom. He's always whooping me. He's always stepping on me. He steps on the boys with his foot. He literally tells the children to lay on the floor and he steps on them. What a fucking piece of shit. In one incident, the child's mother returned home finding a broken broom handle. The 4 or the 5-year-old child said Johnny, the boyfriend, was being a meanie. Johnny was mean. How can the mother deny knowledge that the boyfriend was beating the absolute shit out of these 2 boys to the point that the 2-year-old dies? How can the mother argue she was not aware? She is, in my opinion. I think the prosecution are going to easily be able to convict the mother of whatever the appropriate charge would be: neglect, child abuse, being complicit in the enabling of the ongoing beating, the ongoing abuse, the ongoing torture of her 2 children. Thankfully, one of them is alive, although suffers multiple bruises across their body, multiple scars across their body, emotional scars too, of course. The mother claims she never knew her children were being abused. The mother is full of shit. The mother needs to be jailed for life. The scumbag boyfriend faces charges of first-degree murder as well as several counts of child abuse. He's being held without bail, so that's a good thing. I do applaud the authorities for holding this scumbag, this alleged scumbag murderer, child murderer, with no bail. This happened in Las Vegas. Full condolences, prayers to the fallen child, the lost child, Caden Boykin, 2 years of age, completely innocent. Thankfully, his elder brother survived this horrendous mistreatment. And I want to see the boyfriend get life in prison. And yes, Donna, I want to see the mother, who has no ability to claim ignorance. She needs to be jailed for an extremely long time too. So just going to go through a couple of the comments. Maybe Colonel, thank you for covering these terrible topics. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Like I want to go through these topics, but sometimes they do get too much, like on an emotional level, but also I like going through a lot of the topics, and it takes time and effort, and sometimes I can't quite face it, especially with the darkness of them. These stories deserve to be told. The kids have to go through it. The least we can do is acknowledge them. Thank you for doing this. Yeah, Donna, that's pretty much why I'm doing it. That's a big part of it. Like if I read through an article like this, how can you not cover it? Do you know what I mean? Like these victims, these situations, like they deserve some level of coverage. They deserve like a moment's reflection, don't they? And I get a lot of the compliments that I get, which I really appreciate. I do get thanked for covering topics which the mainstream media doesn't cover. So at the beginning, I covered about Paul Pelosi's attack, but mostly I do cover these attacks on children, a lot of them, and they, by and large, don't get a lot of coverage. They might get an article or two, but then they're forgotten about. And several of the videos that I've made, or quite a few of the videos that I made, like the friends and the family, they watch the videos. Some of them watch the videos. I get comments from people, stating that they're a family member, they're a friend of the victim, of the perpetrator in some cases. And to me, like, these simple YouTube videos can be like a place, an environment for remembrance, and not everyone has that. Not every situation has a place where people can go and just consider, remember their fallen loved one. Um, so yeah, that's part of the reason why I make the videos. A big part. Discipline and abuse are so very different. Yeah, I'm not a parent. I used to watch a lot of Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux is a very controversial philosopher, but he used to talk about the non-aggression principle, not hitting children. And again, I'm not a parent, but yeah, that's what I believe in, not hitting children. I can imagine that I can well understand that parents get frustrated with their children, but I've read way too many articles where, and again, it's often the mother's boyfriend, but not necessarily, but when the parent or the step parent violently attacks their child, could be even a newborn baby, weeks old, kills them. Why? Well, because the child was crying. It's that's just, it's unbelievable, but it happens a lot. The people in so-called protective services who let all this abuse go under the radar require jail too. Yeah, I've read through a lot of cases, maybe criminal, where the child protective services get a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism due to inaction. And I'm not a fan of government in general. I'm not a fan of local councils and such. I think out there in the world, a lot of people are in paid employment where they don't do their job properly, where they do fuck all, basically. They just suck off the teat of the taxpayer, get a nice cushy salary for the rest of their life, never get fired. What benefit do they bring to the community? In this kind of case, none. You know, they fail to protect the children that they're literally paid to protect. They're literally, these child protective services are there to, be the safety net for these children that are unfortunately being raised in violent households, neglectful households, and often, too often, we see that the child protective services fail these children time and time again. Thanks for your comments, guys. I really appreciate you being here as we go through these topics. And this is another um, very harrowing topic. We see a picture there of a burning car. A Texas man has been charged with capital murder in the death of a 3-year-old boy that he reportedly attempted, that he punched the boy hard enough to break his ribs. The alleged scumbag's name is J. Isaiah Allen, 33 years of age. He's been charged with tampering with evidence in the death of the 3-year-old victim. The 3-year-old victim's name, if I pronounce it correctly, Quintavious Trejo. This happened over the weekend in Belton, Texas. So apparently, this scumbag, J. Isaiah Allen, punched the 3-year-old. The 3-year-old was told to go to bed, and the other children in the house knew there was something wrong with the 3-year-old. The 3-year-old fell asleep, but he was breathing funny. His legs were moving as if he was running. The other children realized something was wrong with Quintavious Trejo, the 3-year-old toddler that had been punched by a grown adult, J. Isaiah Allen. But J. Isaiah Allen, and we don't know his relationship to the child. We don't know if he's the father. We don't know what the relationship is. But this scumbag did nothing to protect the child, didn't take him to the hospital, didn't call for an ambulance, just let him breathe poorly and suffer. In the morning, if I remember this correctly, I've read through. In the morning, it says here the alleged suspect woke up, saw the baby, the 3-year-old wasn't breathing, so he attempted to perform CPR, and then he ran out of the house with the 3-year-old. He claims, probably a complete lie, he claims that he fell whilst running. He dropped the 3-year-old, and this was in a wooded area, and then he just abandoned the 3-year-old. So that could have been before the 3-year-old died. It could have been after the 3-year-old died. But either way, that's pretty much what happened. Now, the scumbag in question called his family and said, "I've done a very bad thing. I've fucked up." The family were concerned, so they encouraged him to tell them what happened. And he said that he had abandoned 3-year-old Quintavious Trejo in a wooded area near his home. The 3 relatives went there to look for the boy. They eventually found the boy laying face down on the ground. They called police, at which point the suspect drove off. Police did come, and clearly the boy had been attacked. He had been punched. There was a car chase. The suspect was spotted nearly 100 miles away from his home on Interstate 35. Police gave chase. The scumbag suspect lost control of the vehicle and crashed, with the vehicle erupting into flames. So we believe this is a picture of his vehicle having erupted into flames. So he's been arrested. He's since admitted that he did punch the boy, the 3-year-old, in the chest. He claims once. He claims, "Oh, I only punched the 3-year-old once." He also claims that it wasn't that hard. It was with a force of 4 to 5 on a out of 10, you know. Eventually, he admitted to having struck the 3-year-old boy hard enough to break his ribs. Turns out this scumbag has at least 4 domestic incidences involving police in the last year. So he's a known violent person, and yet somebody or some people, and again, going back to what Maybe Criminal has said, some protective services decided that it was perfectly fine for this scumbag violent person to be a guardian of children. So he's in custody. He's been charged with capital murder, again, in regards to the death of 3-year-old Quintavious Trejo. Full condolences to the family concerned. And we just hope that the prosecution build a strong case. I think they will. And that this scumbag gets exactly what he deserves: life in prison, if not the death penalty. And let's hope that the other inmates get to have a nice little chat with him from time to time when he's released into general population, so the other inmates can introduce themselves and how they feel about him punching a 3-year-old so hard in the chest that it breaks ribs, that leads to him not being able to breathe, leads to him dying and being dumped in a forest. Gonna move on to this next article. There's actually a couple of articles that are very, very similar in nature. Several children killed in their family home. So I'm going to go through this one fairly quickly, I believe. This one, I read through it earlier, and this one really got to me. So I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. 4 siblings and their mothers were shot dead inside their Wisconsin apartment after their stepfather set it on fire and then turned the gun on himself. 4 siblings and their mothers shot dead inside their Wisconsin apartment. Jessa McKissick, 33 years of age, and her daughters, Safina and Natalie Clemere, 12 years of age and 14 years of age, as well as 2 unidentified 3-year-old boys, were shot and killed by the stepfather, Connor McKissick. Connor, the father of the 2 boys and the stepfather of the 2 girls, shot himself. So there's the blessing of this situation. The scumbag took his own life. Good. Their bodies were discovered early on Friday after firefighters were called to the burning apartment around 5:15 a.m. Thankfully, the remaining tenants in the 4-unit building made it out safely. So there is a GoFundMe, a couple of different GoFundMes. One for the family of, for the family that was taken, and another GoFundMe for another family that lived in the same apartment block, but their residence was destroyed, all of their possessions destroyed. They're now homeless. All victims had 1 gunshot wound each. There was evidence of an ignitable liquid in the apartment where multiple guns were found. Here's a picture of the victim, one of the victims, Jessica McKissick, fatally shot by her husband, Connor McKissick, Friday morning. One of the children, I believe this is Natalie, 14 years of age. I believe this is Safina, 12 years of age. In addition, 2 half-brothers, both 3 years old. Senseless. Yes, absolutely senseless. At least 15 fire departments and 9 police departments were called to the scene. Again, this was not just one family home. This is an apartment block set ablaze, leading to other people losing their home. So I'm going to wrap things up at this point. We'll wrap up this article. As Donna says, absolutely senseless. But it's not the only case like this. The next one I'm going to go over is extremely similar. So this next topic happened in Oklahoma. 2 adults, 6 children. 2 adults, 6 children. All shot and killed. The children's ages are from 1 year of age to 13 years of age, and this is believed to be a murder-suicide. The 2 adults were found, well, actually, all of the children were found in one room, shot, dead. 2 adults were found in separate rooms, and they were also shot dead. So it seems that it was a murder-suicide. It seems that the 2 adults, we don't know if the adults are the parents, but that would be my guess. My guess would be it's mom and dad committed premeditated murder, planned this out, took all of the appropriate steps, preparations to act out this absolutely senseless killing of what I would guess is their own children, 6 children aged between 1 and 13. They were in one room. My take on it is they shot and killed the children, all of them. And then the 2 adults went into separate rooms and killed themselves. The house was burnt down. Well, the house was found, rather, it wasn't burnt down, but it was found ablaze. Firefighters went in. They tried to recover one of the bodies of the adults, but the fire officers determined that none of the people dead, the victims, and the likely murderers, none of them died due to the actual fire. They all died seemingly due to being shot, gunshot wounds. This happened in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. A similar incident happened in Broken Arrow in the past. And it's extremely harmful, damaging to the entire community. All of the first responders, the firefighters, the police that have got to deal with this situation for the next several months, perhaps even years, as they go over this, as they try to figure out what the motives were, what actually happened, and why. So, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, an absolutely devastated town. So, I'm going to move on to the next topic, and I think I might be coming close to wrapping things up at this point, getting close to it being an hour. So, I think this might be the last one. I do have a couple more that I've somewhat prepared. Yeah, but I'll probably make some standalone videos later this evening, my time. But I am intending on trying to maintain doing multiple videos a day, and I might even do live streams every day. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe the live streams are a little bit too much, and I guess I would need a little bit of support to do the live streams. So hopefully things grow on that end. But that's fine. I really appreciate the support of Maybe Criminal and Donna Young. Thank you very much. But we'll go through this, and we'll call this one the last one that we'll go through. This is in regards to a case which was quite heavily publicized a few months back. A five-year-old boy's body was found stuffed in this Las Vegas suitcase and dumped at the side of the road. And nobody knew who the child was. I'm just gonna answer Maybe Criminal. Oh, Donna, if you can share, that would be great. Yeah, if you're able to do the whole social media sharing thing, that would be great. Um, is it the season for child sacrifice, or is all this normal? I'm gonna say Maybe Criminal that all of this is normal. All of this is normal. I've been making this. I've had this YouTube channel for a year, going through articles for the last year, and every single day there's half a dozen or more cases of child murder every single day. So there are cases mostly in America, but also United Kingdom and England that I go over. But yeah, every single day. Sigh, indeed. Yeah, I mean there are some days where there aren't any new cases, thankfully, but then wait a day or two and they make up for it. I don't know how this happens so consistently, and there's a lot of reoccurring themes, like the mother's boyfriend. That's a reoccurring theme. Forced exercise, forcing the children to do 12 hours, 20 hours of exercise, jumping jacks, push-ups, forcing the children to sleep in the garage on a hard concrete floor, starving children. There are a lot of repeating. I don't know what the right word would be, but yeah, sigh indeed. So yeah, this did get a lot of coverage. The authorities didn't know who this 5-year-old boy was, but they have now identified who the boy is. The boy is called Cairo Amar Jordan, 5 years of age, and his mother is being hunted. His mother is being looked for. Her name, if I pronounce it correctly, Dejuan Ludi Anderson. Maybe I've got that wrong. But we'll go through the details. Law enforcement authorities in Indiana are searching for the 37-year-old mother of a 5-year-old boy who was killed and stuffed in a suitcase that was found discarded in the woods. The mother, Dejuan Ludi Anderson, a Georgia native, has been charged in the death of her young son, Cairo Amar Jordan, whom authorities identified for the first time on Wednesday. Another person, 40-year-old Dawn Elaine Coleman, was taken into custody in San Francisco in regards to her role in the boy's death. The discovery of the boy, Cairo Amar Jordan, was found on April the 16th of this year, 2022. A young child was found dead in a very distinctive suitcase in southeast Washington County, a very isolated dead-end road that wasn't heavily traveled at all. This suitcase here, how disgusting to have the body of a child, your own child, you know. The mother literally stuffed her own child, apologies for the language, but stuffed her own child into this suitcase, dumped the body. Police at the time said they had discovered an approximately 5-year-old black male child dead. He exhibited no apparent signs of trauma, but nobody came forward. So the boy didn't match any missing persons reports, and no family came forward. So he was discovered in April of this year, and it's only just the last few days the police have identified who he is or announced their identification. So seemingly it's taken 6 months to identify that the 5-year-old boy is Cairo Amar Jordan. An autopsy determined that the child's cause of death was an electrolyte imbalance, which caused viral gastroenteritis. I may pronounce that incorrectly. Viral gastroenteritis. Toxicology reports on the boy came back clean. A lot of resources were thrown at the case to try to identify the boy, but it has taken quite some time to do so. Thankfully, the investigators have got there at this point. On October the 14th, the Washington County Circuit Court issued 2 felony arrest warrants for the mother for neglect of a dependent resulting in death, a level 1 felony, and obstruction of justice, which is a level 6 felony. This other person has been arrested, if I understand correctly. Yeah, so one person, Coleman, I can't find the details right now, but one person has been arrested in regards to Dawn Elaine Coleman, 40 years of age. She's in custody for her role in the boy's death. But there's a search for the mother, Dejuan Ludi Anderson. We've got a short description of her. She's described as 5 foot 5 inches, approximately 135 pounds. She's from Atlanta. She's believed to be on the run somewhere in California, last seen in Echo Park, Los Angeles, but also seen in Houston and Las Vegas as she's been traveling west. 5 foot 5 inches, approximately 135 pounds. This alleged scumbag, the mother of a 5-year-old boy, Cairo Amar Jordan, whose body was found stuffed in a suitcase dumped at the side of a road. All right, so we hope that she does get caught and that she faces justice. I do have a couple of other articles that I could go through, but I'm just at the end of my little rope here, as it were. Just run out of energy. I need some coffee. I need to step away and do something a little bit more lighthearted. I'm going to watch the Jake Paul fight against De Silva, which I think has just finished. But I'm going to head to Meth Streams to watch that. And so hopefully you guys go and do something a little bit more lighthearted too. I mean, it's definitely important and very, very sobering to cover these topics and to think about them and to potentially discuss them. But it's not fun at all, is it? I mean, it's pretty depressing, very depressing. Um, I would like to. I really, really appreciate your both of you being here. It really means it makes the complete difference, honestly. So if you're happy to come to the next live stream, or if you ever see me do another live stream, it'd be great if you're happy to join in. Bear with me 1 second, the both of you. Really appreciate your support. If you are happy to share, that would be wonderful. You've both been very, very respectful, um, and very friendly, and I like that you're having a nice little chat amongst yourselves. So you've both been granted moderator status. Well done, well done. Donna is going to hang out with her cats. Good. Yes, exactly. I don't have any pets myself, but I do like watching cat and dog videos. So I might do a little bit of that. True crimes updates. It makes me angry, but you have a really important channel. Thank you, dude. I'm guessing you're a guy. Thank you, dude, or do that. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Um, I think it is like I think covering these topics are important, and I think covering a lot of them are important as opposed to just doing one video every few days, because there are so many crimes like this. There are so many tragedies. Why only cover just a very small percentage of them? But of course, I've got to limit myself. I do kind of get carried away, and I try to do too much, and I end up doing nothing. But I am seriously considering trying to do a daily live stream, very much like this one, where I've prepared some details, but perhaps not completely. Things that aren't going to be entirely smooth. It's not a full blown production, but I am thinking of doing this every day. But I can imagine that I probably will end up not doing it every day. But anyway, I really, really appreciate your support. So thank you guys. You're both moderated, which means you're obliged to come back each and every time. So I'm going to wrap things up. Take care, guys, and do something fun for the rest of your day, for the rest of the weekend. Alrighty. Bye, guys.